The movie opens with various broadcasts, and the sun rises from the far side, lighting up the Earth. Those TV and radio broadcast signals can actually travel across the universe, so far that they can even leave the galaxy. Meet Ellie Arroway, a bright child interested in CB radios. She complains to her dad, Ted, who tells her to make small moves. Ellie hears a voice and her face lights up. Ellie is clever and finds out where the signal came from, the farthest signal they ever had. One night, Ellie is talking to her dad as she goes to bed and asks Ted just how far those signals can travel. She then asks if they can talk to her mom with it. Sadly, her mom has died and Ted comforts her. She drew a picture of Florida and Ted hands it up. She asks if there's other people in space, and that's when Ted tells her it'd be a waste of space if it was empty. That same night, Ellie is still on that CB radio, looking for a signal. Ellie has grown up. She looks at the satellite in proud amazement. And Fisher, from behind, calls her Dr. Arroway. She has just arrived at the Arecibo Observatory, Puerto Rico, so they put her bags into her new accommodation. That night, it's her first shift on the satellite dish. She switches through channels just like she did as a kid. She's immersed in her work when Kent is in the dark, looking to talk to her. He tells her to go back. They thought they found something, but it was already recorded. They talk about her previous Professor Drumlin. That's when her team walked in on Dr. Vernon, Davio, and Fisher. Kent tells the team that she's looking for aliens on their telescope, which is not looked at in a good way in the scientific community. Ellie sits down with a bee, and a man walks up to her and asks her if she's from Arecibo. He sits down and talk about the satellite. He introduces himself as Palmer Joss, and they continue talking. They seem to be clicking while talking about each other's work. Palmer wants to find Drumlin for an interview. Palmer asks her out to dinner, but she walks away from him. The dreaded Drumlin has arrived, and he looks pissed. He greets everyone and swipes a mean comment to Ellie. There's a party that night, and Drumlin is talking about research being profitable, but Ellie disagrees and discovery is important. Palmer shows up and backs her up. Then Drumlin calls him Father Joss. This surprised Ellie. She had no idea he was a priest. Ellie asks Palmer about it, and he tells her that he got his master's in theology but does humanitarian work now. Ellie is showing Palmer some star, and she tells him about her dad inspiring her to become an astronomer. She tells him about the odds of life on other planets, and he says it would be a waste of space if it was empty, just like her dad. That's when they kiss. That night in the rain, Palmer tells her about his experience with God while in bed. She argues because Ellie is an atheist. Palmer finds a photo of her with her dad, and she tells Palmer her dad died when she was 9. Ellie then hurriedly runs out, telling Palmer to leave his number when he asks her out again. Standing outside, Ellie has a flashback of when she was a kid looking out with a telescope. She hears a noise and goes inside. She found her dad collapsed on the floor. She ran to get his medicine, but she was too late. The next morning, a sad Ellie is sitting outside and a priest tells her sometimes bad things happen and it's God's will, but Ellie blames herself. There is a funeral inside, but she goes upstairs and gets on her CB radio, hoping to find her dad. Ellie wakes up at work with her screen flashing. She turns it off and goes out. Kent is outside and tells her Drumlin pulled the plug on their research. This gets Ellie angry, and she drives like a madwoman to find Drumlin. She confronts Drumlin, but he tells her she's too brilliant to be wasting her time with nonsense like aliens. Ellie packs her bag and spots Palmer had left her his number. She picks up the phone, but calls Kent. She is not giving up this easily. Kent and Ellie to get the funds themselves to work in New Mexico. She looks at the paper, but leaves Palmer's number when she moves out. Ellie is at an office building, giving a presentation about the satellite array in New Mexico and using it for her research. But the board isn't convinced by her research. This ticks off Ellie, and she snaps at them for not seeing her vision. And just as she was leaving, they stopped her because they got a call. Someone was watching through a camera and decided to give her the money she needed. She says thank you and leaves. 4 years later, Ellie is outside still listening to radio waves. Kent comes by again with bad news, telling her they're stopping her from doing her research yet again. So she goes outside, sitting on the ground like she did as a child. Palmer is on TV being interviewed by Larry King to talk about his book. Ellie is still outside listening. At dawn, something pulses on her headphones. She wakes up. There is something on the signal. This is not normal. She has to figure out what this is. She quickly packs up and drives fast while telling the team instructions over the phone. The team panics and they turn on all the computers, the signal spikes, and they confirm her numbers. Ellie is running up the stairs to reposition the satellites. She was right. There is a signal there. It shows up on all the radars, so they start recording it. Whatever the signal is, it's not from Earth. And just as fast as it came, the signal disappeared. They all stay quiet. But it picks back up again. They are numbers 2, 3, 5, 7 prime numbers. The signal is coming from the star Vega. She contacts a scientist from England and he confirms her sighting to be correct. Helicopters come and news stations are there. The news has blown up all over the world. Senator Kitts arrives and orders the reporters to leave. Drumlin has come with him too. Kitts is not convinced why they used numbers and not just English, but Ellie steps in and says 70% of the world don't speak English. Maths is the only universal language. She asks Kitts to get rid of the soldiers, and he does, but she ignores him and goes straight for Kent. They show him the signal. Kitts is not happy that she told the world about it, but Drumlin calms him down because Vega is only visible to them for a few hours, so to get continuous recording they have to coordinate with the rest of the world. They find another signal. It's a TV transmission. They put it on a screen and they find something. They also find audio with it. Drumlin asks them to center it. They all look intently at the screen and they see something that startles them, a swastika. They zoom out and they find Hitler giving a speech. The same speech rotating over and over. Kent translates it to be the opening of the 1936 Olympics. At the White House, Drumlin tells Rachel Constantine, White House Chief of Staff, that the Hitler speech was the first broadcasted video from Earth, so that was the one the aliens found, so they sent it back. The news is all over TV, and President Clinton talks about the situation. Back at the lab, Kent hears something else. He finds something in the layers of the video. Rachel gets on stage and tells the press about the numbers and the Hitler video. But Rachel calls Drumlin the leader when in fact it was Ellie that was the leader. This crushes Ellie as she got a call. Kent tells her about the extra layers of the signals and they send it to her. Massive amounts of data, along with the videos of Hitler, are about 32,000 pages, but they are encrypted. Kitts then recommends making the project a military affair. Ellie gets upset and Rachel agrees with Ellie. The news cycle keeps talking about the message, and that leads to thousands of people camping out at the satellite site. There are all kinds of people here. Ellie looks at them all as she is driving past. She spots a silver-haired man preaching that scientists shouldn't be the ones handling the message, saying it's from God. The team can't seem to figure out the pattern but are stuck. Ellie gets home and she has an email. It says, "Take me to your leader." Then the person calls her. She knows who it is. She is sent a location. She finds a plane there. The mysterious person has Ellie brought inside the plane. It's Mr. Haddon, the genius business tycoon who funded her research in the first palace. He seems to know a lot about her. He makes her tea, and then he tells her he has found a way to decode the message. It's not pages, it's all in 3-dimensional pages, not in 2, like on Earth. She shows the message to the White House, and Drumlin keeps interrupting her. And she shows them the message was sent so they can build a machine of some kind. Ellie argues with a panelist about the message not being from God. That's when Palmer Joss pops up behind her, saying what they found was an actual message from the sky. She seems glad to see him, and he goes on talking about unifying religious and scientific views on the message. Drumlin tells the press there is no new information about the machine. At the reception, a beautiful-looking Ellie sees the same silver-haired preacher. Palmer compliments her on her looks and they take the conversation outside, talking about the existence of God. But suddenly, they get called inside. The news is on and it shows the machine is undoubtedly a transporter of some kind. Palmer comes out and tells Ellie the president has decided to build the machine with the rest of the world. News reports say the cost is $300 billion and the candidates to be selected have been narrowed down to 10, Ellie being among them. Palmer goes through the applicants as he watches Ellie being interviewed on TV. Ellie gets a note from Palmer. They meet next to the river. He asks her that according to Einstein, the person going on the trip would age just 4 years, but 50 years will pass on Earth. She tells him she's ready for that risk, and they kiss. At her public hearing, Palmer asks her if she believes in God, and she answers by saying there is no data to make her believe. She feels betrayed by Palmer, but she stays honest. Ellie is devastated by Palmer, but she can't do anything about it, and finally, Drumlin is selected to go on the trip. The machine is finished. Drumlin gives a report on the machine. Ellie congratulates Drumlin, and he walks off to do the test. At the control center, everyone is ready. The test is live, and the machine starts to move. They keep accelerating the machine, and suddenly, Ellie spots someone she recognizes. It's the silver-haired preacher disguised as a crew member. She tells Drumlin that the man has something in his hand. It's a bomb. They tackled him, but it was too late. He blows up the machine, killing Drumlin and everyone on the machine. Ellie returns home saddened by what happened, but she finds a Russian man on her screen. It is a video call from 2 Russian astronauts. Behind them, Mr. Haddon stays in the spaceship. It turns out that he has cancer and could only survive in a low oxygen and low gravity environment. He shows Ellie another machine in Japan that he has constructed. He wants Ellie to go. Ellie gets there and still argues with the people about the amount of stuff she's supposed to carry on the trip, and they want minimal protection for her. As Ellie rests for her trip, Palmer shows up at her door. He told her he loves her and to come back. Ellie fastens her seatbelt and gets ready to go. During the warm-up, the cockpit trembled violently and a strange light appeared. Ellie attempts to communicate with the Mission Control Center, but it fails. Then, the cockpit is cleared for launch and the 2 booster rockets are fired, spinning the ring at high speed. When it is counted down from 10, the light becomes the brightest. It releases a huge amount of energy, then Ellie's cabin plunges into the wheel. Even though reception with the Mission Control Center is cut off, Ellie feels as if she is falling into a swirl and moving forward through a tunnel of light. At the end of the tunnel is a quadruple star system. Before Ellie could settle down, she entered another wormhole. This time around, it shakes even more violently than before. Ellie's seat flies to the top and she can float up. As she looks out of the window, she is mesmerized by the breathtaking scenery. In a flash, she finds herself standing on a beach. Stars shine brightly above her. Even though they seem so close, she cannot touch them with her hands. From a distance, someone is moving towards her. Ellie is very nervous at first, but as the man comes closer, she recognizes him to be her father, Ted. Ellie is ecstatic and throws herself into his arms. She cannot believe it is happening. Vega civilization retrieved her memories and created such an image she would be comfortable with. Even the beach was from her drawing when she was a child. Ellie asks him many questions that she has about alien civilizations. She is curious about how they built the wormhole. The alien tells her he does not know either. It was already here before the Vega civilization began. Ellie also wonders if the Vega star would invite all other civilizations to visit them. The alien holds her hand and shares that human beings should unite together to overcome the vain and meaningless lives. The alien tells Ellie that this meetup is only the first contact and more will follow, and just to be patient. He gives her a goodbye kiss, just like what her father would do. Ellie is awakened by very powerful lights. Her cabin drops into the water, leading to chaos in the Mission Control Center. She hears the staff checking if she has any injuries. Ellie is confused about what time it is on Earth now. The Mission Control Center informs her that the launch has failed, and her cabin dropped to the bottom. Ellie tried to prove her experience with the video. However, the video is just static. The Mission Control team plays their own observation video to show her that she just plunged to the bottom. It was only a matter of seconds. Ellie reasons that based on the theory of relativity, 1 second on Earth is equal to 18 hours where she was. During the debate, the panelists assert that the 18 hours are merely Ellie's hallucination, and she cannot prove the existence of the Vega alien. And then they question the authenticity of the radio signal. It could have been fake all along. Ellie doesn't think so, because it would take lots of experts and lots of money. However, the official mentions that it is very possible for a rich and knowledgeable man to create such a scam. Ellie is reminded of Mr. Haddon, who has the cash and expertise to make it possible. Ellie feels powerless before such an accusation, but she has no evidence. Ellie concedes her point, saying that if she were the official, she would not believe in it. Either Ellie herself is not sure what is going on, but she persists that her cosmic journey is real, and she hopes that everyone could have a chance to experience it. Joss hugs Ellie, and outside the courthouse, thousands of people gather to support Ellie, and tells the press that he believes her, and they drive away together. Rachel is on a call with Kitts and tells him she is concerned with the static that was recorded on Ellie's camera. It was 18 hours.